In this lesson, we're going to learn how to calculate average rate of change. This is the second in a four-part series on this topic, and in this video we're going to focus on how to calculate average rate of change when our function is given to us as a graph. Remember, to calculate average rate of change, we need 2 points. Once we have the 2 points, we can use the formula average rate of change equals y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So how do we do this when the graph of a function is given to us? Well, allow me to demonstrate. For example, suppose we want to calculate the average rate of change over the given interval when x goes from 1 to 3. That 1 and that 3 on that interval are the ticket to how we get our points. We will actually write our 2 ordered pairs using that as our basis. 1 and 3 are x values, which means they're inputs. So our ordered pairs will have the x value 1 and the x value 3. We then refer to our graph to get the corresponding y values. If we go across the x-axis to the input 1 and we go up to the point on the graph, we see we have the point 1, 4. That's the first point we will use in our formula. Then we have the x value 3. If we go along the x-axis to 3 and go down to the graph, we find our point, 3, -2. That will be the second point that we'll use in our formula. The next step is very important. Label the points x1, y1. The x1 and the y1 go together, the first input and the first output. And x2, y2, the second input and the second output. Then write your formula. Average rate of change equals y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. Now perform substitution. y2 is -2, y1 is 4, so -2 minus 4. Divided by x2 minus x1. x2 is 3, minus x1 is 1, so 3 minus 1. Now we simply have to simplify the fraction. -2 minus 4 is -6 in the numerator, and 3 minus 1 is 2 in the denominator. -6 over 2. Perform the division, and we have -3. That means the average rate of change is -3. Here's an example for you to try. Can you calculate the average rate of change for this function over the interval from -1 to +2? Pause the video here and see if you can do this one on your own. We begin by identifying the points that we need in order to calculate the average rate of change. We look at the interval, -1 to 2. These are the x values. So, when we write our ordered pairs for the points, the first x value is -1, and the second x value is +2. We then look at the graph to see if we can get the corresponding y values. When x is -1, y is 7, so the first point is -1, 7. When x is 2, y is -8, so 2, -8. We'll use these points in our formula. We label them x1, y1, the x1 and the y1 go together, and x2, y2, the x2 and the y2 go together. We write down our formula every time, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, and then substitute the numbers into the formula. Notice in the denominator we have a double negative. In the numerator, -8 minus 7 is -15. In the denominator, 2 minus -1 is equivalent to 2 plus 1, which is 3. Simplify the fraction, -15 divided by 3, and you get -5. The average rate of change for this function over the interval from -1 to 2 is -5. Let's conclude this video with one last exercise for you to try. Here's the graph of a function. Pay close attention to the x and y axis for this graph. Notice that the x and y axis are each going up by multiples of 2. Be very careful when writing your points. Can you find the average rate of change over the interval when x goes from -10 to +2? Please pause the video here, find the 2 points and calculate the average rate of change. Let's compare answers. The interval is from -10 to +2. This is the ticket to finding our 2 points. We know that the x values are -10 and +2. We look at the graph to get the corresponding y values, or the outputs. -10, 6, and +2, 2. Again, be careful when reading this graph because the x and y axis each go up by multiples of 2 instead of multiples of 1. We label the points x1, y1 and x2, y2, and then we write the average rate of change formula. We substitute the numbers into the formula and then do the calculations. -4/12, which reduces to -1/3. The average rate of change over the interval from -10 to 2 is -1/3. And now you know everything you need to know in order to calculate the average rate of change of a function when you're given the graph. Remember, you can learn more about functions in Mr. Dory's Algebra Handbook, available at www.dorypublications.com.